The Coach Curl podcast is brought to you by Think and Grow Business, the home of the Think and Grow Business Mastermind. If you're serious about growing your business, get serious and join a mastermind group today. Find out more at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au.
Hey there, it's Coach Curl here, and welcome to today's Leader, the Coach Curl podcast, episode 186. Tony, we're back at work. Now what? Well, let's find out.
Way to go, guys. Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul, I see you. Finish on. Coach Curl.
Great job, guys. Coach Curl, we love you!
Hey there and welcome. It's Coach Curl here, and welcome to episode 186 of today's Leader, the Coach Curl podcast. We now have some glimmers of hope. We now have rainbows on the horizon. The rainbows, the glimmers of hope that suggest that we're on our way out of this COVID crisis. We've got states, we've got countries, and there's a lot more talk about reopening the economy, reopening the business, and getting things almost returned to normal. So, and with that comes the prospect of heading back into the office space, into our work areas, into our workplace. So, what does that mean? So I'm returning to work. Now what? Now what? And this is some of the questions that we're starting to hear. It's time to start thinking about how I'm going to lead when we return to the workplace. And one of the things that we need to acknowledge, firstly, is that our workplace will be changed. It will be changed in some way, some shape, some form. The crisis that we have endured, the crisis that we've gone through, has changed us all. And our workplace will absolutely feel those changes. A crisis changes everything. And so coming back to work with the same skill set, the same mindset, will probably, more likely, definitely put us behind the eight ball. So whether it's from a business perspective, whether it's from a career perspective, the last thing that we are wanting people to be doing is starting behind the eight ball, starting with a handicap. Now, isolation brought some demons, but with those demons came some opportunity. And it's where our thoughts went, it's where our mindset was, whether we focused on the demons or whether we focused on the opportunity. And the opportunity to grow and build skills as a leader, the wins that we've had along the way. And trust me, we have all had wins along the way. We just may need to look for them a little bit harder than maybe others, but we have all had wins along the way. So what skills have I been able to build and conquer while we're on COVID, work from home, while we're on COVID crisis? These are the things that we should be looking to implement into the workplace. So when we think about the new skills, the new ways of doing things, the new ways that we communicate, actual genuine care for our team members, the handling of some tough conversations, no doubt, and evidence around performance and efficiency, they are some of the things that we need to hold on to when we return to the workplace. Even the fun. So we saw on our social media, we saw on our LinkedIn streams, we saw on our Facebook streams, people taking the opportunity to have some fun. So whether it was a dancing segment that was filmed exclusively for social media to give off the perception of fun, or whether it was just, funny shirt days or loud shirt days or Mad Hatters days, those are the types of things that we've introduced into the workplace to keep our remote teams engaged, to keep our working from home people engaged. Working from home no longer has a stigma attached to it around lack of trust and goofing off. It's actually been seen by so many leaders as a positive because we've been able to maintain engagement with our teams, and and with that we've seen productivity and efficiency gains. So we've seen leaders being unique in the way of maintaining novelty and engagement within their teams. They are some of the things that I want you to start thinking about as we're heading back to the workplace. So, and with that comes an intention. And intention is an amazing thing for leaders. When we work as conscious leaders and we champion the concept around conscious leadership, we work with our intention. The intention to do the right thing, the intention to develop the team, the intention to set goals and invest in the process. And those two things work side by side, our intention and our personal investment into it. And you see this word intention used extensively through leadership principles, through leadership programs, through leadership models. And one of my favourites where it's used is in the Speed of Trust model that was developed by Stephen M.R. Covey, where Covey builds his trust model centred around 4 pillars of credibility. Now, those 4 pillars are intent, integrity, capability, and results. Intent, integrity, capability, and results. And in that model, intention is based around what we may know as our agenda. So in our intention in building trust with our teams is one of those key areas where when we return to our workplace. And the reason why we want to do that is because we want to be able to build trust stronger, quicker, faster within our workplace. And we can do that with good, strong, positive intention. Like the intention you used when you were leading your remote teams, when you were thinking about how do I maintain engagement with my remote teams. That should become our mantra. That concept of intention around keeping our team engaged, keeping our focus, because good leaders have a focus on their team. So I want you to start thinking about what that will look like as a strategy. It's probably going to be too late to think about that when you're back in the workplace. So we need to start thinking about that as a planning process now. So to set yourself a strategy, communication, being clear and consistent with that is vital. To build engagement, to continue to build the culture and show you the team that you care. It should, the strategic look around goals and productivity should be part of your plan, as is the concept around performance and feedback. So think about those things that have worked while we've been working from home, while we've been leading remote teams, and then bring that in to reality when we start thinking about what it is that we want to be doing and implementing to increase that engagement when we return to the workplace. Because one of the things that we don't want dysfunction. We don't want to have this situation where people have worked and achieved better results potentially when they've been remote, and then they come back into the workplace and, like I talked about in a previous episode, look around them in a month or so and say, I survived COVID for this. So, and that's our role as leaders, to set that as an example, to set our culture that we want. So take what we've learnt during the work from home period, and let's really think about that in terms of how you can implement those same things, those novelty engagement, those unique ideas, the morning FaceTime or whatever platform that you were using, those sorts of things. How do I maintain that connection with my team? How do I keep them going? Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to get caught up in the bullshit that we know sits within an office environment. The bullshit that drags you down as a leader, and the bullshit that ultimately drags your team down. You know what I'm talking about here? I'm talking about the politics that exist within offices. Sometimes that is incredibly petty, but it drains our energy. The underlying conflict that can sit there within teams, if we haven't built a robust team that can rely on each other, support each other, trust each other, and to have those conversations that you need to have to get the best outcome. To not get caught up in lack of trust scenarios. As a leader, concentrate on building trust, filling the trust bucket, so that your team will trust you when you lead and when you consciously lead. And then finally, we talk about the concept that we certainly don't want to have, is that concept of a lack of accountability, which we see time and time again in offices. That's somebody else's job. That's not my job. I told such and such to do that. So it becomes this real drain based on results, based on energy, and based on just a pure and simple frustration in and around what it is that we should be delivering. So from a leader, think about for your strategy, how do you communicate? Is it clear? Is it consistent? And how can I communicate what needs to be communicated, and not just communicate for the sake of communicating? It's got to be clear, it's got to be consistent, everyone's got to be on board. And with that, we start to build that engagement. We build the culture that you want. You lead the culture that you want. However you lead is the way that you'll have the culture. If you're a dominant leader, if you're a high D in the disc profile, for example, you will generate fear within your teams, and that will be represented in your culture. So you get the culture that you lead. So never lose sight of that as a responsibility of a leader. Think about how you can goal set and remain productive. Think about how you can empower and develop and delegate your team. So it all doesn't sit on your shoulders, but how can you use development or utilize the development and the skill building and strength building within your team to actually make your team more efficient? And then finally, you want to really commit to feedback, because one of the things that we have seen during the crisis is the remote teams have been productive. They've been effective and they've been efficient. And some of the leaders that I've coached have actually said we're achieving more than what we used to in the office. That's a real kudos to those leaders that have been able to achieve that, maintain that engagement with their teams. And that is certainly what you want to be holding on to when you return to the workplace. And just remember those dysfunctional things again. Stay away from politics. Don't allow a lack of trust to be evident or build up within your team. Don't accept surface trust either. Surface trust is where you've got that underlying ripple within your team that threatens to explode at any time. And please be accountable for your own capabilities and for the results that you deliver. Hey, it's Tony, and thank you for tuning in for today's episode of Today's Leader. Once again, a huge shout out to Think and Grow Business, my team at Think and Grow Business, and my team at the Coach Curl Academy. So both of those areas where we look to improve, strengthen, build leadership, build business, and improve our mindset, and we do it through personal, professional, and business growth. It's all available for you at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au or at the coachcurlacademy.com. Come and join the team. It is certainly part of where your growth journey can take you. You know where you are. You're standing stronger, you're braver, and you're wiser, And don't ever forget the golden rule. Yes, you know what it is. Just don't be an arsehole. This is Coach Cole. I'll see you next week.